Sometimes Riot makes mistakes. There are dozens of times they've broken League of Legends by accidentally creating something so hilariously busted and overpowered it dominates the game for a week or two until they patch it out. But in 2015, Riot went into Worlds with a patch full of those kinds of mistakes, and the fallout has changed the way they've treated Worlds ever since. In August 2015, Riot reworked a handful of champions to create a new class called Juggernauts. The idea was to have a few, mostly top lane champs be glaciers in lane. Incredibly powerful, hard to kill, and very slow. Riot reworked Darius, Garen, Mordekaiser, and Skarner, who was actually so busted that Riot hotfixed him 6 days after the patch dropped. All of the champions were tweaked here and there, but by the time Worlds rolled around in October, Darius was pretty strong and Mordekaiser was comically busted.
Mordekaiser's main strength is just being able to snowball the early game. He's bringing magic damage, he's a really good diver early on, 2v1.
Darius' power came in part from the damage and healing on his Decimate ability, combined with a nasty execute on his ultimate. If an enemy got low enough, Darius could dunk them and kill them, which actually reset his ultimate, letting him do it again. That led to some unbelievable pentakills.
Cross, he gets some damage on the stake, he gets a kill! He's on there now, and it's going to save the game! Soaz gets a pentakill after Baron!
Meanwhile, Mordekaiser's big change was that Riot wanted him to be played in the bot lane, which was tricky because Mordekaiser's a melee champ and all of the 80 carries he'd lane against were ranged. To offset that, Riot made it so that Mordekaiser gained 100% of experience for every minion he killed instead of sharing it with his support partner. That meant that Mordekaiser hit level 6 when you were around level 4. It wasn't fun.
The ghost of Mordekaiser's dragon, but there will be a challenge.
It's going to be a lot of damage, but they have the dragon!
Oh, they've got him already! He's done!
Now could be in trouble. Good, back there! Gonna move Diana into the team. Moonfall's not enough. Toto gets another kill.
Darius had a 72.6% pick ban rate by the end of the tournament, making it into 38 games with a 50% win rate. Mordekaiser, on the other hand, had a nearly 100% pick ban rate and a 100% win rate across all 4 games he made it into. You might be wondering how Darius made it into so many games. That's because the Juggernauts weren't the only balance problem with the Worlds 2015 patch. Next came Gangplank, who was reworked a few months before Worlds, but was still in a pretty powerful place going into the tournament. He was a late game monster with super safe laning, letting him farm easily and build items that turned him into a team fighting machine. Gangplank was able to deal huge damage to most champions if they walked into his barrels, and if they survived that onslaught, his ultimate did enough damage to kill them in team fights anyways. Gangplank had a 100% pick ban rate, winning all 4 games he made it into. And of course, there were even more problems. The jungle was pretty low in diversity in patch 5.18, and there were only really 3 competitive junglers: Elise, Rek'Sai, and Gragas. Unfortunately, Gragas was disabled partway through the tournament, after a bug found during a Fnatic vs EDG quarterfinals game was deemed game-breaking by Riot. This wasn't a deliberate balance decision that Riot made, like Gangplank or Mordekaiser, but it did negatively impact the rest of the tournament.
The issue that appeared in-game prevented Rainover from casting the Gragas Q spell, and the refereeing team, they did investigate and exhaust every single option to resolve the issue in-game, including allowing Gragas to die and attempt to resolve the matter.
Elise and Rek'Sai were the only 2 viable junglers left after Gragas was disabled. Combined with Gangplank and the Juggernauts, it all meant that Red Side was at a hilarious disadvantage throughout the entire tournament. Back to the stats. Elise had a 97.3% pick ban rate, while Rek'Sai came in with a 76.7% pick ban rate. This was before League of Legends had 10 bans, which meant that Red Side was screwed. They had to ban Mordekaiser and Gangplank, as well as one of the 2 main junglers, since not doing that gave the blue side the advantage of getting to pick the jungler they preferred and banning the other. Blue side, on the other hand, got their pick of the litter. They usually banned Lulu, since she was also pretty powerful in that patch, but otherwise, they got to pick any strong champions Red Side left up, and they got to target players on the Red Side. Think about it this way. In their grand final series against SK Telecom T1, the KOO Tigers couldn't target Faker at all. They didn't ban a single mid lane champion all series, even when they were on the blue side, because they had their hands too full banning out OP top laners and junglers. So why did Riot do all this? Obviously, it's impossible to say for sure, but it's safe to assume that Riot wanted to bring up some bad champions, namely Darius, Gangplank, and Mordekaiser. And it's also safe to assume that they probably wanted to shake up the meta a little bit and make things exciting going into Worlds.
This is the first time before Worlds that there's been the most changes. Like Mordekaiser, AD carry bottom lane, like nobody in their right minds would say 2 years from now, I'm gonna be playing against Mordekaiser bottom lane. Or you go in solo queue and Mordekaiser, Darius, Garen, and Skarner are banned. Like somebody's like, am I in an alternate universe? Did I just like wake up? Am I still dreaming, you know?
Instead, teams chose to create a fragile piece, built on the understanding that the League of Legends they were playing at Worlds 2015 wasn't the League of Legends they qualified for the tournament on. The teams at Worlds 2015 qualified through the summer split, on a patch without Juggernauts and without an all-powerful Gangplank. Riot changing the patch right before Worlds meant that they just weren't playing the same game. SKT were the favorites to win the tournament, and they did. Of course, it didn't hurt that they were one of the only teams who brought a carry top laner to a tournament with plenty of carry top picks. But that's not the point. The point is that Riot changed the game, by most accounts for the worse, just before their most important tournament of the year. It showed a complete lack of care for the competitive scene, and even though the best team won out and most of the OP nonsense didn't make it on stage, the tournament was fundamentally changed because of Riot's decisions.
Kill for balls! Holy cow! That's why team's been picking Darius. Cloud9 at 3 members alive.
Worlds 2015 had the highest champion diversity of any Worlds to that point, but a lot of that was because most of the same champions were banned every single game.
Yeah, and as for EDG's bans, I think since they're on red side, they may just be locked into the Gangplank, Mordekaiser, and Elise.
Yeah.
In the bracket stage alone, Blue side had a 58.3% win rate. You weren't totally screwed on red side. In fact, SKT won 2 games on red side in their grand final series against the KOO Tigers, but you were at a severe disadvantage. These days, Riot is a lot more careful about letting their patches breathe before Worlds. Towards the end of the tournament, Mark Merrill said that Riot was going to take a harder look at their patch schedule around Worlds, and it seems like they've learned their lesson. Worlds should be played on a stable patch, one that's similar to the summer split. It ensures competitive integrity and that fans get to watch the best League of Legends possible, that the best teams win out. These days, Worlds is in a much healthier place, and that's probably worth one messy tournament.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.